Welcome, Age of Vintage Society. Music, 1950s atmosphere, beautiful costumes and romance. Grease is the musical that never gets old decades later. In many teenage films, the actors are actually 18 or older, although it would be offensive today to depict a woman completely changing her look to seduce a man. We must admit that Sandy's transformation into a rock and roll icon is one of the most glamorous in film history. With her Bardo top, lax curls and fiery lipstick, Olivia Newton-John became an icon. The most legendary part of her look: leather pants so tight they had to be sewn onto her body. How did Olivia Newton-John find out her dead boyfriend is alive? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. The classic film Grease may be many years old, but its cultural influence is as alive as ever. Grease would not be the same without Olivia Newton-John. Her unforgettable performance helped the hit musical become the top-grossing film of 1978 and earned ONJ posters a place on fans' walls worldwide. Olivia Newton-John skillfully made the transition from popular country pop singer to popular mainstream soft rock singer, becoming one of the most successful vocalists of the 70s in the process. The transition itself wasn't much of a stretch. Her early 70s hits, I Honestly Love You and Have You Never Been Mellow, were country only in the loosest sense, yet the extent of her success in both fields was remarkable. As a country singer, her first 5 charting singles all went top 10 in the US. As a pop singer, she had no less than 15 top 10 hits, including 5 number 1 singles, highlighted by Physical, which spent 10 weeks at number 1 in 1981 to 1982. Newton-John's sweet voice suited both country pop and soft rock perfectly, which is what kept her at the top of the charts until the mid-80s. After 1984, she was no longer able to reach the top 40, partially because of her shifting musical tastes, and partially because she was unable to successfully record sexy dance pop, no matter how hard she tried. Nevertheless, her 70s and 80s hits remained soft rock and adult contemporary staples into the 90s, when she was no longer recording frequently. Born in Cambridge, England in 1948, the youngest child of Professor Bryn Newton-John and Irene, daughter of Nobel Prize-winning physicist Max Born, Olivia moved to Melbourne, Australia with her family when she was 5. Despite the academic background, early on Olivia showed an interest in singing. She attended the Christchurch Grammar School and later the University High School. Although she first gained international stardom from Grease in her late 20s, she is a naturally born performer who took to the stage as a pre-teen. By age 15, she had co-created a girl band with classmates called Soul 4, and she earned the nickname Lovely Livy while starring on Australian TV 2 years later. They often performed in a coffee shop which was owned by her brother-in-law. She appeared in several Australian TV shows such as The Go Show as a teenager, also starred in movie Funny Things Happen Down Under, which was forgettable apart from some early promise shown in Olivia's delightful rendition of Christmas Down Under. Once the Soul 4 disbanded, Newton-John entered a television talent contest, winning the grand prize of a trip to London, England. Her first introduction to Make Records was a one-off single deal with Decca Records. The single, Till You Say You'll Be Mine Forever, is extremely rare, though these 2 songs were available on the British compilation CD Pop Inside the 60s. Once in London, she formed a duo with Pat Carroll, another Australian-based vocalist, and tried to work her way into the music industry. Dreaming of stardom, the 2 girls played pubs and clubs as the vocal duo imaginatively called Pat and Olivia. New to the British music scene, their initial hirings were not always a success, such as the duo's performance at Paul Raymond's Review Bar. They were somewhat taken aback by the scant attire of some of the other performers. Needless to say, the duo were dressed in high-necked frilly dresses, were not asked back to what they later on discovered was a strip joint. In 1968, Bruce Welch of the Shadows fell for Olivia and they became engaged, something which was not entirely without problems as he was married at the time. Though her partnership with Carol was short-lived, Pat was sent back to Australia once her visa expired. Olivia was making inroads in the business. Following Carol's departure, Newton-John recorded and released her first single. Shortly afterwards she became a member of Tomorrow, a bubblegum group assembled by Don Kirshner in hopes of creating a British version of the Monkees. This manufactured group issued an eponymous album in 1970 to go with the film Tomorrow. But the public were not impressed and the movie closed quickly, leaving Olivia to concentrate on her solo music career. She was invited to be the resident star for Cliff Richard's highly successful TV show in 1972, and she was a regular live performer in London. England did not make Olivia entirely happy. She missed Australia and her then boyfriend Ian Turpie. In one interview she reports how she attempted to book her return flight without telling her mother, who had accompanied her to the UK. Fortunately for Olivia's fans and her future career, her mother was not having her daughter waste this opportunity to broaden her horizons, and Olivia's plans were thwarted. The early 70s was a prolific period for Olivia. Her association with Cliff Richard and the Shadows brought her music to a wide audience. Cliff Richard had a regular TV show, and Olivia was a regular guest. Bruce Welch arranged Olivia's first hit single, a cover of Bob Dylan's If Not For You. This single was Olivia's first taste of success in America, something she was to experience a lot more of in the next few years. She reached a turning point in her career with the release of Let Me Be There, which charted at number 6 in America. No longer engaged to Bruce Welch, John Farrar, another member of the Shadows, took up songwriting and arrangement for her, and this was a successful team which was soon to take the United States by storm. John Farrar had known Olivia from the early days, and he later married Pat Carroll. While holidaying in 1974 in the south of France, Olivia met Lee Kramer, who had a successful import-export business. The romance developed, and Lee was Olivia's boyfriend and manager for much of the rest of the decade. Just before she moved to the United States to build on her burgeoning success there, Olivia represented the UK in the Eurovision Song Contest in 1974. Both song and Olivia's costume on the night were selected by a poll of TV viewers, and the whole mess showed just what was wrong with the vox pop artistic taste. A truly awful Oompa Oompa song, Long Live Love, was chosen, together with a long, flowery baby blue dress for the actual performance. This time Olivia was up against strong competition. 1974 was the year that ABBA stole the show with a barnstorming performance of their song Waterloo, which launched their international career. Olivia came fourth. Newton-John's transformation into a mildly sexy pop singer was complete in 1978, when she starred in the movie version of the popular Broadway musical Grease, also starring John Travolta. Grease was an international hit and spawned 3 huge hit singles. Many years on, Grease remains one of the highest-grossing film musicals ever, having taken nearly $400 million at the box office. But a debate rumbles on about its theme of a woman becoming more stereotypically sexy in order to bag a man. Rather than a love story, you could see this as a celebration of sexism. Spurred on by the success of Grease, Newton-John went on to shake off her own clean-cut image with her biggest hit to date, Physical. Originally offered to Tina Turner, the song caused controversy with its suggestive lyrics and risque music video, which featured the star showering at the gym. This new vampy, assertive persona was short-lived though, and a few years later Newton-John was back to singing love songs. You can call Olivia Newton-John a cancer survivor, but she'd rather be known as a cancer thriver, and these days the Grammy Award-winning performer is doing all she can to help others who are dealing with the disease to thrive as well. She, who was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1992, not long after the death of her father, a former MI5 agent who worked on the Enigma project at Bletchley Park, When it came back in 2013, her older sister Rona had just died, and Newton-John only found out about the cancer's recurrence when she was involved in a car accident. Both times she was still shell-shocked with grief. It's been a part of my life for so long, I felt something was wrong. It's concerning when it comes back, but I thought, I'll get through it again. She likes to sing to herself. Over and over she will repeat, I'm healthy, I'm strong, to a random melody she has picked up. I think it's very important to keep that positive message in your head, she said cheerfully. You know, if you have a difficult moment, music is always a great healer. It is something that has kept her going during her darkest days dealing with stage 4 breast cancer, the third time she has been diagnosed with the illness in the past 28 years. Since her cancer returned in 2017, Newton-John has been focusing on getting better. In 2018 she had to learn to walk all over again after the disease spread and she fractured the base of her spine. I was so weak, I had a walker, a cane and crutches, but now I'm walking around. The word lucky comes up a lot when you're talking to Newton-John. It crops up when she is describing her career as one of the best-selling musicians of all time, with a string of #1 hits and 4 Grammy Awards. And there it is again when she talked about being diagnosed with cancer. I don't wish cancer on anyone else, but for me it has been a gift. 3 times lucky, right? I'm going to look at it like that. Listen, I think every day is a blessing. You never know when your time is over. We all have a finite amount of time on this planet, and we just need to be grateful for that. One thing that she said has been a big help, alongside surgery, chemo and radiotherapy, is medical cannabis. She has become an enthusiastic advocate for the drug. Her husband grows the plant in a greenhouse at their ranch as part of his business, the Amazon Herb Company. Her daughter, Chloe, also owns a marijuana farm in Oregon. I was nervous of it in the beginning, but I could see the benefits once I started using it. It helps with anxiety, it helps with sleep, it helps with pain. Newton-John's growing interest in plants inspired her to experiment with ayahuasca, a powerful psychedelic brew that is used in the Amazon for healing and spiritual purposes. She took part in a ritual in the Peruvian rainforest when she was 59 with Easterling, then still just a friend. He gave her a tiny splash to taste, just enough to fill the cap of a water bottle. That night she started to feel sick and began hallucinating. It did change my life, she said. If I hadn't had that experience, I might not be married to John now. I had the most incredible visions when I was under the influence of it. It was amazing. The couple returned to the country in 2008 to get married in Cusco. But there was another boyfriend in Olivia's life. The mid-2000s brought challenges for Olivia. Boyfriend Patrick McDermott disappeared while on a fishing trip, but her former boyfriend was found in Mexico after going missing 12 years ago. McDermott disappeared in 2005. The then 48-year-old set off on the fishing boat Freedom from San Pedro Marina on 30th of June, but mysteriously disappeared with personal items including his wallet left aboard. At the time, the cameraman had been dating the Grease actress for 9 years. 3 years later, the Coast Guard was still unable to locate McDermott's body and said he had likely drowned. Out of the 22 passengers on the boat, none saw him go overboard. Newton-John, who was in the middle of a busy press tour in Australia at the time, didn't report McDermott as missing until a week after the excursion, when he didn't show up for a pre-planned family event. At the time of his disappearance, McDermott owed $8,000 in child support to his ex-wife, Yvette Nepar, for the care of their son Chance, among other debts. His life insurance policy would leave $100,000 to be left for Chance after McDermott's supposed death. Close friends said Newton-John took years to deal with the grief and uncertainty about what had happened. Amidst mounting speculation, he had staged his own death to escape mounting debts. The holes in the story left private investigators wondering whether McDermott was really dead. In 2010, a group of investigators hired by Dateline NBC reportedly found McDermott under his birth name of Patrick Kim. The group claimed that the handsome technician of Korean-American descent was supposedly alive and in Mexico. A long-running Australian weekly magazine has now claimed it has evidence McDermott is alive after receiving photos by US media agency Coleman Rayner, which show a man who matches his description in the Mexican sun alongside a woman. The widow's peak is exact, the eyes are very similar, and the ears extend down on the head the same distance. I believe it is him, Private Detective told the magazine. He claimed the individual in the photograph was a 90% match to McDermott. In March 2016, McDermott, who has appeared on America's Most Wanted. Olivia married her second husband, John Easterling, in 2008, told Australian TV series 60 Minutes. It's human to wonder, but you know, those are the things in life you have to accept and let go, because whenever you go through difficult times, there's always those concerns. But I live on, and of course questions come up, always. It's human. Olivia is not only talented but also extremely passionate, making her popular among her co-stars, including the swoon-worthy John Travolta. She has channeled this passion into activism for multiple humanitarian causes. Her belief in the healing power of plants is so strong that she has set up the Olivia Newton-John Foundation to fund research into holistic therapies for cancer. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Now it is your turn. What do you think about the life and legacy of Olivia Newton-John? Olivia made her mark in the 1970s as an interpretative singer, singing with her unique blend of a clear and light voice, combined with a delicate sensitivity and tenderness.